and welcome everybody to our Dark Age of Camelot Knights podcast. It's the EU podcast again, and we will be talking about the classes Armsman, Warrior, Hero, Savage, and Mauler tonight. Thank you everybody for watching, and enjoy!
So that means it must be down to me to do the talking. Welcome everybody, as Shalaya said. It's good to have everybody watching. Come on, let me see the counter going up. And thank you very much to the people who have stepped up to speak for their classes that they play. If you can I'll ask everybody to make a quick introduction of who they are and what they play. So can we start at the top? Should we do it alphabetically? Beev, would you like to say what you play and what you're going to be speaking about tonight?
Yeah, I'm a Beev from Post Count. I play all three heavy tanks, the Hero, Armsman, Hero, or Warrior rather, and I've also played Savage. So hopefully we'll be able to get some good thoughts and everything talked about tonight.
Thank you very much. And Knights?
I'm Nightsmauler. I played Mauler, of course. Pretty obvious. I'm here to try and get some changes to Mauler, talk about it a little bit. That's about it.
Thank you very much. Pain?
Paindancerr. I play Warrior, Midgard. I also have a decent high room rank Armsman, and here just to join the discussion.
Thank you very much. And Lucas?
Yeah, Lukisun, I play a hero for a very long time now, and also have main tech Charles Warrior, but mostly my hero.
Great, thank you very much. So we're going to start off with the Armsman initially. So Beev, you play an Armsman quite a lot. What kind of play do you get involved in? Do you mean do you play 8-man or small man, or is it battle group kind of play?
Most of my play has been with small man and full group on the Armsman. I have less experience on it than I do the Hero, but they play similar. Armsmen have there's just slight differences. But yeah, I enjoy most of my time playing small man and full group.
Okay, you are well known for your post on post count, so it's very good to have you in here. Can I ask how you're spec'd on your Armsman at the moment?
My Armsman is currently spec'd 50 pull on, 42 shield, currently 36 with plus 14 thrust for composite 50, and leftovers impaired.
Okay, would you say that's a pretty standard kind of spec for Armsman? Is there any that go, oh no, I would never go that, this is my spec, this is what I've always run, or I swap and change between specs depending upon what I'm doing? Is that quite a standard spec, would you say?
It's fairly standard. Some people would keep their thrust spec at 39 because of the thrust style. But generally you're going to be either 44 or 50 polearm or 44 or 50 two-handed, and usually 39 or lower crush slash thrust, whatever spec you prefer. And then 42 shield for sure. It's pretty much standard for every heavy tank for the 9-second slam.
Yeah, I mean that slam's definitely a big deal with any kind of tune, and appealing tune, a killing tune. It does make a big difference, and it can be a long stun, and you can go down quite easily with that stun hitting you.
Yeah, it's definitely a big deal when peeling. You definitely want to have your enemy immobile for as long as possible.
Do you play in kind of, I won't say, well, I will say a set group? You know, do you play with the same people, or do you pug it, or you know, is it always the same kind of group of people when you get together every evening or whatever?
The majority of my playtime is three days a week, and I tend to run Australian time, which is unusual for most Americans. But because I work third shift, it's generally when I'm awake. I get to play U.S. prime time maybe once or twice a week, and you know, just depending on how late I feel like staying up after work, I can get into some Euro prime time. So my playstyle varies, and depending on what time I'm playing, depends on who I'm running with. I tend to not pug a lot. I do have specific people that I tend to run with, depending on the playtime that I'm playing in. But I'm not opposed to pugging at all.
Yeah, I think that tends to be kind of the way most groups work. You know, I know there's a lot of pugs out there, but my group and you know, my guild and people that I know tend to group with people that they know, because you kind of know what to expect from them. They know what to expect from you, and it makes it work that much better. Do you find that in your normal group, and then it's slightly different when you're playing in a pug?
Yeah, it's definitely slightly different.
What would you say is the biggest strength of your class, and obviously on the flip side, what's the biggest weakness of your class? The Armsman, this is obviously.
With the Armsman, the biggest strength is their ability to absorb magic damage. Hibs tend to run hybrid or caster setups pretty often. Mid, not quite as much. They tend to run more full tankers. And so the Armsman's ability to peel becomes their greatest attribute there. But generally, it's their ability to absorb magic damage once they get the necessary RAs. They're more valuable at a lower rank than most other tanks. But yeah, absorbing their ability to absorb damage and their ability to peel is definitely a big deal.
Okay, and weakness-wise, is there anything in particular you think, yeah, I don't do well versus this, or this doesn't work well for me?
Well, they're not a very mobile class due to not having charge. That's not to say that they're completely immobile, because with debt they're hard to keep out of a fight for any length of time. But as far as just a pure weakness, Armsmen specifically, unless they spec for snapshot, they don't really have any ranged interrupts, except for throw weapon and casted, like CL disease and stuff like that. But outside of that, they're fairly well balanced. Most of the heavy tanks are. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay, cool. Can you think of any changes that have happened in relation to the Armsman, and has it been a good change or a bad change? Has there been anything that's made a difference to how you play your Armsman, or you thought, yes, this is brilliant, it's made a massive impact on my damage or whatever?
I think Armsmen have mostly been untouched for a long time, which I think that just goes to show how well balanced they are in the, you know, the greater RVR sense. Yeah, I can't think of any single change that would have made them over the top or underutilized or anything like that.
Okay, cool. And what do you think of the Realm Rank 5 on the Armsman?
The Realm Rank 5...
Citadel?
Yeah, Realm Rank 5 is pretty solid, especially once the Armsman has a little bit more rank. If you give me a second, I can look up the exact RA to couple it with, because I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Is it Soldier Citadel grants a 50% bonus to parry and block rates to the Armsman for 30 seconds?
Yeah. Yes, that's it. Dashing defense, though, is an RA that they get access to, all heavy tanks get access to, that allows them to block and parry for all group members for the duration of the spell. And so, you know, as a peel tank, especially if you're circle fighting in like 8v8, instead of trying to extend or something like that, you can sit there and block and parry for your entire group, and then throw your rank 5 up, and it just makes it very difficult for the other enemy tanks to deal with.
Okay, can you tell me, is there anything you would like to see changed in relation to the Armsman?
Not to the Armsman specifically. The only thing that I would like changed across all heavy tanks is the climbing spike's ability to become a passive ability. As it is, it can be interrupted and broken by like guards and stuff, which can be a pretty huge inconvenience. Some people don't care because, you know, they're not into that type of thing. It's just a quality of life change for me. And I think that's it. That's the only real thing that I could see changing as far as quality of life across all three.
Okay, I see someone on Twitch is saying that the Realm Rank 5 is bugged and you can shift and right click it. I'm assuming that means to delete it. Do you have any idea if that's correct? I never tried changing a debuff.
I've never tried to do it. But that would definitely be a bug that would benefit an Armsman, so I'm not gonna cry about that one too much.
No, I can't say I blame you. Okay, that might be something that might change soon though, if that becomes a well-known bug. But it doesn't seem like the debuff is that massive. What does it say? 10% penalty to block and parry for 15 seconds after Realm Rank 5.
Yeah, the benefits definitely outweigh the debuff in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to be calling you back in a little while to speak about the Savage, so have a good listen to Pain now. Thank you very much, Beev. So, Pain, you normally play a warrior, I believe, in... Oh, look, he's gone. He's not coming back. He's back!
My bad, wrong button.
Yeah, try pushing your push to talk, mate. So, yeah, so you play a warrior in Midgard. Can you tell us what kind of play do you normally go for? Is it BG, or battle group, I should say, Zerg fighting, as we like to call it, or small man, or 8-man kind of stuff?
Yeah, I do enjoy the battle groups, the Zerg as people call. I enjoy the big battles, the big fights. I also do some during the days, and that's sometimes at night after the Zerg's are over. I'll do some small man or solo. But yeah, I do prefer the BG, the battle group.
Okay, and same as I asked Beev, how are you spec'd at the moment on your warrior?
I'm currently spec'd 50 sword, 42 shield, rest and parry, and I think I got a few in throne. I like the sword over hammer. I know I'm troll. I know most trolls go hammer, but I prefer myself sword for the level 50 behind snare. Ragnarok, I prefer that style. The damage seems a little higher, and I believe it is increasing.
Okay, when you run in the Zerg, do you run in a set group, or do you play in a pug, or how do you play?
It depends. Sometimes real life issues has me coming on late, but usually if I'm on in time, I do run my set group. Sometimes I'm in a pug. I prefer a set group myself, but sometimes you don't always get what you want. You have to just get picked up.
Yeah, sometimes it does work like that.
Yeah.
Do do you change your spec, or do you change your master level path or anything depending upon the time? I know Clumsy will sometimes swap to bodyguard and then he'll swap back to warlord for the battle group. Do you do that, or do you always stay warlord?
I switch also most of the times during the night. I will, like I said, go warlord because we are always needing ram drivers or whatnot. Especially for a warrior, it's good so we can climb in. And when I do small man or 8-man or whatever, I do go battle master so I can bodyguard, so I can peel. Which is, we usually don't run the small mans. We don't usually run tank heavy, small man or 8-mans or whatever. So I will change definitely so I can peel bodyguard. And I do my RAs. I switch them around a little.
Okay, can you tell me what do you think is the biggest strength of the warrior, and also, you know, a weakness of the same?
When it comes, I guess I can back up everything Beev said. I mean, when you stack up Armsman, Hero, and Warrior next to each other, I mean, pretty much all the same. We all sit there and take a lot of damage. I think it's pretty much going to come down to, in my opinion, what each class does and doesn't have, like, per se. Like you have your Armsman, you can get the pole. Hero, you can go with the moose mode, and Warrior just stand there and look ugly with sagging boobs. I mean, I'd like to know I'd like to see something there, but weaknesses and advantages, I don't really see one over the other when it comes to all three. We can all three. Spectrite realm abilities, we all pretty much be able to stand in a big fight for a while if played properly.
Yeah, maybe that's where I fall down on my warrior then, because I tend to die way too much. Maybe I should stop playing the warlock and have a bit more of a bash at playing my warrior.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly have no beef with when you stack a warrior up against the hero Armsman, other than, like, say we don't get nothing special. But like I said, when it comes to the damage intake, I mean, we all three classes, in my opinion. I would say I believe a disadvantage would be, I don't think the warrior has the damage output as an Armsman. I've tested it, and I've noticed Armsmen do a little more damage than a warrior. That would kind of be a disadvantage.
Okay, I have seen the board somewhere saying where they are on the damage tables, but I can't, off the top of my head, I really can't remember, and it would take me hours to find where on the damage tables they are.
I mean, well, I guess, yeah, damage. The warriors, I guess, we can throw weapons. I mean, you get Armsmen, at least they get a crossbow. We get a little weapon that's like a mosquito bite, knock somebody off a horse, that's about it. But you actually have to buy the weapons or whatever. I wouldn't mind seeing something change along that line. Pretty shit. It's a pretty shit disadvantage.
Okay, have there been any changes, both with your class and in the game, that have had a big impact on you? And have they been a good impact or a bad impact?
Not really, not that I've noticed. I mean, I've been playing mid, well, I think probably, about 3-4 years now, and I haven't noticed. And I was away from the game about a year or two prior to that. So I haven't noticed anything in 3 years that's changed for the tank type classes.
Yeah, I must admit, I've been sitting there trying to go through, thinking what has been changed that have made a difference to the archetypal tank, and I don't think, I mean, it tends to be, you see changes to the other classes, you know, that your casters and those kind of things tend to get little tweaks or overwrites or whatever, but I don't think I've really seen anything for the heavy tanks, as it were.
Exactly, and I mean, us tank players, I mean, most tank players, you don't know them, like Clumsy himself. You play that too. Yeah, we might have something else we play, but you always see us on the tank. and we would just sit back like waiting. One day, I mean, man, I could sit there, especially in big battle, BG, going up against so many albs or whatever. I can hit that, go in, and just sit there and pick targets.
Yeah, because it's 90% less damage for 45 seconds, and that's from all attacks for 45 seconds. But you can only move very slowly, can't you?
Yes, and it knocks down, say if you're sprinting, it will knock down your sprint. You have to re-sprint as soon as you hit it. But yeah, even though you are moving slow, it is 90%. I believe you can stack that with a Fury, but you have to watch out with some things because you can overstack and get one-shotted, which I have accidentally done.
Okay, does it work with all shields, or is it just the large shield, do you know?
I'm not 100% sure. I've never ran with nothing other than a large shield.
Okay.
I've never been around with anything other than a large shield.
Okay, and the only thing that, I mean, the final question you've already touched on, which was about, you said about the climbing spikes, you'd like that to be a passive ability instead of a kind of casted ability as it is at the moment, so that you could use it all the time.
Yes, I would definitely love to see that, but that would be for all three, actually. I mean, the hero, warrior, and armsman. When it single out warriors, I would like something changed, something to. I don't want to say something cool. I mean, cause like I said, you had the armsman, you can get a poles, heroes, you can go moose mode, warriors. We stand here, look ugly. I mean, yeah, some people say you don't have to do thrust, slash, or crush. I mean, but other than 50 sword, what else we have? I'd like to see something implemented for us, but when it comes to what, I really don't know. I mean, I know it's probably way out of the question to put like a transform mode in.
Yeah, the only thing I turn my warrior into is the what is it? Not the Vendu. It is the Vendu with the Vendu necklace. It turns you into a teddy bear. I love that. A little bit childish, but that's me. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Now we're going to move on to the hero, which is Lucas's ballpark. So what kind of play? I mean, we're going to run through the same questions again. What kind of play style do you go for, if I can ask?
Yeah, I mostly play 8-man. Sometimes, we are in 2 groups, but never in a BG. And sometimes small man, but very seldom.
Okay, and is this? Sorry, I haven't really asked anybody. Is this EU time or is it US time?
Oh yes, this is EU main time, prime time.
Okay, thank you. And how are you spec'd on your hero?
I have a bit different spec than standard spec, so I'm gonna go with a standard spec first. It's basically it's a 34 weapon, one-hand weapon, 50 large weapon or Celtic spear, and then you have 42 shield and 20 parry. That's a basic default spec. Currently I'm running 45 shield because I like tactics. Special ability you get with 45 shields. And I have a bit lower one hand and parry. Higher, so I have a 21 parry and 29 blades. Because I run around with a spear most of the time.
Yeah, and I must admit from personal experience, the spear definitely hurts. Because I don't know what your average hit is, but yeah, I can get 2 or 3 hit by a hero.
I believe it's quite on par damage-wise with a pole arm, but pole armsmen can't spec, or usually don't spec so high, so they have a bit lower damage.
Okay, and so you play in an 8-man. Is this a set group? And do you ever need to think about changing your spec, or like we were talking about with Pain, do you ever change your ML path or anything like that?
Yeah, I usually play Warlord, even though we're 8 men, because I'm really bad at giving bodyguard. But sometimes I switch back and forth between Warlord and Battle Master. That's it. No spec changes.
Okay, well, it's good that, I mean, it is good to know that if you're going to swap to Battle Master, it is good to know that it might not work out the best for you, and if that doesn't suit your particular play style, then there's no point going in.
Yeah, Battle Master is if you prefer playing defensively, I'd say generally, and Warlord is offensive support ML's line. So it really, I guess it depends on your mood or playstyle.
Okay, what's the biggest strength and obviously the biggest weakness of playing a hero?
Well, biggest strengths definitely is a spear. It's the only slow DPS thrust weapon in Hibernia, so it's pretty nice. You have very unique style lines, very interesting chains, and generally I'd say, as with other full tank classes, high magic resistance, and yeah, you're able to soak up tons of damage, so that's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, being able to take, being in the forefront, being able to take a lot of damage makes a big difference, and definitely, I know the healers love that kind of thing as well because it gives them lots of heal RPs.
Moose mode is of course something unique, but needs to be used very carefully, and is a big boon to the hero, I'd say.
Okay, and like the Armsman, does that have a penalty on the flip side of it once it drops, or is it all just a positive?
Well, I don't know. It's not a real ability, so I don't actually know what the Armsman gets, if he has any ability at all.
No, I mean, like their realm rank 5 has a defense penalty once it drops. So I was wondering if the moose on the hero, does it have a defense penalty once it drops as well?
The moose is not the realm rank 5 ability. It's a default. What is it? Character ability. It's Revenge of the Hunt or something. Wait a second. Master of the Hunt,
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking on the my character plan, but it doesn't say what the actual the boss, what it actually does. It just says Master of the Hunt, and I click on.
I can explain. Master of the Hunt is the ability you get upgraded every few, I don't know, 10, 15 levels.
Yeah, it's
so
10
what it does,
10.
it doubles your hit points basically, and you have a massive amount of hit points. And when the ability drops off, you gain a heal from all the hit points that are left over from this boost. So
wow. Yeah,
it's very useful, but you definitely should tell your healers when you're using it, so they don't, because if you're 50% with Moose mode, they'll be pumping lots of mana into you with no avail, because when it drops off, you get a full heal anyway. So, and yeah, so that's really special and good. Actually, I would know if Armsman or Warrior have any ability or class-specific ability like that.
Armsman.
I don't. Yeah, so Beev said Armsmen don't get any ability like that, and Warriors, as far as I'm aware, don't get anything that gives them the boost, other than the damage mitigation they get from the realm rank 5. Your realm rank 5 is combat awareness.
Yeah, the Real Mark 5 is combat awareness. It's kind of similar to that of the Armsman. You just evade and parry all attacks on you. So it's not for anyone else in the group or anything. It's just for you. And you get a snare, a slow, during the time this ability is running. It's fairly useful. Probably if you're pinned down, if you're giving bodyguard, you can use it.
Okay, and that stacks alongside bodyguard, so that obviously then means that whoever you're bodyguarding is going to have even less chance of getting hit.
Well, yeah, usually if you give bodyguard to a friendly and the assist train goes on you to turn you down out of some reason. So if you pull that Real Mark 5 ability, they will have a much harder time whittling you down. But it doesn't transfer to anyone, or it doesn't really stack with anything as far as I know.
Okay, thank you. We kind of skipped ahead. So, are there things in your spec line that you think, yeah, this is no good, I never used this, it's not something I've ever thought of using, and you think, yeah, if this could be changed?
Yeah, well, the only thing I really noticed, but it doesn't really bug me, but the Celtic Spear line had a style change, like with the other weapon style lines, and currently now has 5 anytime styles, so without prerequisite. And well, 2 of them would be the taunt and the detaunt, but you still have 3 anytimer styles that you could do with 1 probably, or 2, but so yeah, that's 1 too much, but that's all. There's no big negative at all. Just like my others, like everyone else said, tanks are very solid. Don't need much changes.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I was speaking about the warrior and I'm saying about the Armsman, but I'm assuming it's the same for the hero. There's not really been anything that's come into the game that's had a massive impact on your particular class. Is that how you feel?
I feel exactly the same way, like my real members here, or enemy real members. So there was this huge tank upgrade with a patch 181C or something, where heavy tanks got lots of love, and since then I believe they've been mostly unchanged, and that's just fine as it is.
Okay, it seems like everybody who plays a heavy tank is very happy with the way their class works. If there was anything that you could change, something minor, or on your wish list that you think, God, I'd love to be able to do that. Is there anything like that you think, yeah, I'd really like this?
Well, yeah, I probably would chime in with the climbing spikes. Although I wouldn't make it into a passive, I'd just reduce cooldown. Because I like the way you have to prepare before you climb the wall. It's a nice touch, just to, okay, I'm now going in. You can announce it and then you use your ability so your healers are ready. So I think it's a nice touch. Generally, what I'd really like to see in the game is just that the game would represent the reach of a large weapon. So if you pull out a large weapon like a polearm spear or a axe, battle axe, that the reach of this weapon, that it's longer, would be somehow reflected. That would be really nice.
Okay, that's quite an interesting concept to be able to increase. So if someone was out of range with your one-handed, if you were still able to, say you were rooted or something, you were still able to pull out your two-handed, and you're just able to hit them, that would be quite an interesting change to heavy tanks.
One and a half times of normal melee range, something like that.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, it's been great having you on here, Lucas. Thanks a lot. Now we're going to move on to the Savage now, and it's back to Beev. Thank you for hanging around for this, Beev, and thank you, Knights. I know you're waiting down the bottom there. So I'm assuming you do the same kind of thing with the Savage. You tend to run 8-man or small man stuff.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, now I was saying before we got started, I was like, I'm not quite sure why this is in here because it doesn't have a shield. It doesn't, it's not that particular type. I would personally have thought it would go in more with the Berserker because it's kind of a bit of a burst damage thing, a Savage. What were your thoughts on this?
They are similar to a Zerker. The difference being a Savage's burst is, for the most part, completely random and probably more consistent, whereas a Zerker can time his burst whenever he wants to, a minimum of every 7 minutes. Savages also tend to, while they can play forward, they can also peel, and they're incredibly difficult for an enemy tank to peel because of their evade and defense rates.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a Lobby Savage. He's only on rank 4, and playing him up through the BGs and then bringing him out to NF was just fantastic fun. Really, really enjoyable class I found to play and to try and learn. I'm still terrible at it, but I'm trying. Do you find them a fun, enjoyable tank class to play?
Oh yeah, they can be incredibly fun. I like the fact that even if they are peeling, there's times when you can burst down the target that you're actually, trying to peel off your casters or support. Their damage is just, it's pretty incredible, although it's relying on timers. Once those timers go down, and obviously they have a HP cost, delayed hit point cost. Once they go down or you reset them before the duration is up, they lose so much hit points for every buff that they have up. So it has to be done carefully, especially if you're getting pressed hard and your healers can't heal the way that they need to.
Can I ask how you're spec'd on your Savage? Do you go full weapons or do you go full savagery?
I am 50 hand-to-hand, 42 savagery, and then the leftovers in parry. The higher you spec in your hand-to-hand, it increases your chance of getting triple attacks and quad attacks, and so that's where the majority of your burst comes from.
Okay, and I'm looking at the lot. I mean, I've played one, but I'm looking at how many things they get in savagery, and there's quite a list to them. Are there any in particular that you use a lot, and are there any that you go, yeah, I don't touch this one?
You definitely want to keep haste up pretty much all the time, and you want your DPS buff up all the time, because that's where your all your damage is coming from. You want to keep your evade up. You want to keep your evade buff up as well, because that makes you that much harder to peel. Especially considering they have 360-degree evasion and they can evade from any direction. It makes them incredibly difficult to peel.
And the haste that they have, it's not celerity, is it? It's actually like casted haste from a healer bot or a healer.
Correct.
Yeah, because when I was leveling mine, I had no idea that it wasn't the same. I was thinking, yeah, this is celerity, I'm just going to bang this, and I got celerity up, thinking, wow, this is massive speed. But actually, it wasn't. It was combat speed, and it wasn't until I weirdly hit 50 that I suddenly went, I think I need to go and buy myself some celerity pot. Maybe I should have looked into that.
Yeah,
maybe I should have looked into that before. So, I mean, I think we've kind of covered quite a few of these. We wanted to talk about the biggest strengths of your class, and you said that it can be a very good peel tank, and having their evade makes a big difference. Would you say that was the biggest strength, being able to, you know, I won't say take a lot of damage because it's not like a heavy tank, but they're able to last for a long time through the way that they are?
Correct. Their biggest strength is the fact that they get charge, they get stoicism, and they get debt. And so even, you know, as far as lasting out mezzes and roots, it's not really something that they have to concern themselves with too much. Once they get rank, they hit extremely hard. They're incredibly difficult to peel once you have your buffs up. It can be a huge pain for your enemy tanks that are trying to peel you, and they peel extremely well. They have both side and rear snares, as well as stuns for each of them.
Okay, and on the weakness side, is there anything you think, yeah, this really affects me big?
They don't get any outside of, you know, standard avoidance of magic. They don't get any magic damage decrease like heavy tanks do. They have very little in the way of ranged interrupts. They get I think the taunt interrupts. It's been a while since I've played. And they get throw weapon, and that's about it. So as far as and they also don't get Bane Lords. They're either Warlord or Battle Master.
Okay, how high? I mean, this is the only charged tank that we've got in this. Oh no, Maulers get charged, don't they, as well, I believe. How high? Don't they? Oh, news to me. Sorry, never played a Mauler. How high do you go in charge, and then do you go charge and a couple of points into purge, and then the rest in, I would say, damage passives, or do you go the other route and go damage mitigation through avoidance of magic?
I'm sorry, what was the first part of that?
How high would you go into charge, and then your purge and those other kind of, you know, your RA skills?
For grouping, I would try to balance out to begin with. I generally, with my charge tanks, I go charge 3, det 7, and then kind of pump in points into AOM until I get enough to up charge to 5, and then det to 9. And then after that, go to avoidance of magic.
Okay, so you don't worry too much about, you know, mastery of parrying or mastery of pain or anything like that. It tends to be more getting in there, because savages do decent damage anyway, so you don't particularly need to worry about mastery of pain.
Right, you can get mastery of pain, but like you said, their spike damage is pretty crazy already. I mean, it'll definitely help, especially higher rank, but I tend to aim for survivability before DPS on my tanks.
Is there anything in your spec line, the spec you run on your Savage at the moment, that you go, yeah, I don't use this, and anything that's in particular that you would like to see tweaked a little bit?
I don't think so. I think Savages they're the counterpart to being perfect light tank, in my opinion. As far as between them and Zerkers, I think they're both perfect light tanks for different reasons, which I kind of outlined earlier. With Zerkers having the timered burst and Savages being random burst.
Have there been any changes to the game that have had an impact on savages in particular, and have they been good changes or bad changes?
Not that I can recall. I feel like savages have been in a pretty good place for a long time. When I primarily played my Hib hero, they were definitely a class that I didn't enjoy fighting. But you know, looking at their strengths and looking at their weaknesses, as far as 8v8 or group fighting, they're pretty well balanced. With their, you know, weakness to range damage, I guess you'd say. They're incredibly strong in 1v1 or against melee tunes, but weak versus range and magic.
Okay, and the Realm Rank 5 ability is fueled by Rage. Says it will reduce all the damage that Savage takes for the next 30 seconds by 20%, and half of that damage that this ability reduces will be returned to the Savage's healing. Do you use that a lot, or is that very much a situational kind of thing? Would you use it when you're pushing or when you're pulling back? Or
you would definitely use that when you're pushing, I would say, to absorb as much damage as possible going in, and then you know it's a 20% damage conversion on top of it. That can be pretty nice. As a solo, it's also very nice, especially in like 1vx situations where you're fighting multiple people. Because your self buffs cost health, it's essentially nullifying that for what hits they do get through your evade and through your parry. And then as a solo, you'd use your melee resist buffs more, which can be pretty ridiculous as well.
Okay, thank you very much for speaking about that, as well as chiming in on the Armsman. It's great to have you knowing about more than just one class. I know a lot of people play more than just one class, but a lot of people also just tend to stick with the one that they're used to, and they become good at that.
Yep, no problem. Thanks.
Now, lastly, we're going to move on to the Mauler. And so long as Knights hasn't fallen asleep, he's going to chime in for us on this. Knights, are you still there?
Oh, of course I am.
Lovely. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. So can I ask, what's your preferred play style?
Well, mostly a lot of people know me. I'm a BG leader. I like to lead BGs, but back in the day I used 8-man, and I'm pretty familiar with 8-man specs and Zerg specs, but the solo, I haven't really done that a lot. I know you have to be a different spec for that.
Okay, and what spec do you run on your Mauler at the moment for running BGs and leading BGs?
At the moment I'm 41 magnetism, 31 aura, manipulation, and 50 fist wraps.
Okay, was it wildly different when you did 8-man stuff? Was it a big change that you had to put in for the BGs? Battle groups, sorry, I should say.
It was kind of nice to have the more in power strikes, kind of less in fist wraps. But it depended on what you were doing, if you were in tank train or if you were peeling. Because a lot of times you couldn't be warlord if you were in an 8-man. This class is kind of difficult because you're based on how many times you get hit. So if you're completely, they just ignore you, you can't really do much unless if your Realm Rank 5's up. But I do know when you're in an 8-man, you want more power strikes for the drop weapon and the fumble and attack speed decrease.
Okay, and when you lead your BGs, do you have a set group, or do you make a pickup group, or is there, 2 or 3 people that you go, yes, I'm definitely having you in group, and then I'll fill with the rest? How do you make your groups for leading a battle group?
Well, as me, I like to be in caster heavy groups, preferably warlocks, because I can matter debuff. But there's really not a set group that I try and go for. If there's somebody available, I try and keep 2 healers, and I mean the rest of it is I just float around.
Do you sorry, are you, what's the biggest strength of a Mauler? I know I tend to see, I've come against Maulers quite a few times, both on my Warrior and on my Warlock, and definitely on my Warlock there's just nothing I can do. I just can't kill them. Maybe that's my playstyle, but it just doesn't seem to work for me. Can you tell me what's the biggest strength of a Mauler?
I'm gonna have to go with Phoenix Strike. I mean, that's probably the best thing about the Mauler is you got that, you know, the opening of it's an anytime, the Owl Strike. So, I mean, once you hit somebody with that Phoenix Strike, you can hit them pretty hard. I know, I mean, I've told you a couple times and you've seen how hard I hit, but I mean, it has a lot to do with realm rank also. But you have that matter debuff, and as many know, Phoenix Strike is a matter DD, so you can debuff it as well as legendary. So that's probably the best thing that this class has. Okay,
and on the flip side, what's a weakness that you can think of with the Mauler?
I'm gonna say leather armor. We really, I mean, not saying just Midgard, but fire, oil, anything like that, anything that does any kind of heat damage just completely wrecks you. And I mean, I'm getting hit from, I don't know how many people have actually played Maulers, because it's really like the least played class in the whole game. But heat arrows can hit you for like 800. And I don't think a tank, any kind of tank, should be able to get hit that hard. So it's just mostly heat damage just wrecks the Mauler class.
Yeah, I think that might be one of the things that puts a lot of people off playing a Mauler, is the fact of the armor that they get, because they don't, as you say, they only get access to up to leather armor.
Yeah, and I don't think it would hurt too bad. I mean, this is a 3-realm class, and it is one of the most, I mean, for being a 3-realm class, you only usually have 1 to 4 people online, and half the time they don't even RVR on them. They're mostly PvE tunes. So, I mean, what would it hurt to give them studded? I mean, because we don't really get any benefit other than defense, because you have to hit us for us to get power. And if they're absorbing more, we're still getting the same amount of power, so it doesn't really hurt that bad.
Okay, is there anything in your current spec line that you think, yeah, I mean, as we said with everybody else, I don't use this, I don't see the point in having this, I would like to see this changed, or some difference made to it, so that I would actually go, yeah, this is making a difference to how I play?
Well, I mean, I'm not spec'd at the moment, but I like to swap back and forth between staff and fist wraps, and I think staff needs a lot of work. It doesn't have an anytime like Phoenix Strike, and I think it really needs one. Maybe not as much because it is a 2-hander, but I think staff line definitely needs a revamp.
Have there been any things that's changed within the game that has made a difference to your Mauler in particular? And has it been a good change or a bad change for you?
Definitely the PBT. I do think it was completely overpowered, being in, I believe it was Aura back in the day. I also do believe that they could bring it back, but put it in magnetism, because you're either a group spec or you're a solo spec. As this spec that I am right now, I can get annihilated by low realm ranks because I'm more mag than anything. I mean, it depends on, you know, what I have up, and of course. But I think PvT being switched over to magnetism and bringing it back would definitely help this class.
Okay, did they take PvT out? I'm trying to look now. Did they take it out completely, or was it swapped to a different line?
No, they took it out completely. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it used to be an aura, but that was a big class changer. I mean, there used to be Maulers running around, but after that, a lot of people just quit playing them because it really hurt this class.
Okay, how about your Realm Rank 5? What do you think of that? The Gift of Perrizor, which is a damage reduction to the whole group of 25% for 60 seconds. That's quite nice, actually.
Yeah, it's absolutely probably one of the better Realm Rank 5s in this game, because, I mean, I pop that and I have power the whole fight, even for a little, longer after the fight. So, I mean, when that pops, you have perma power, basically, if you're in a fight. So, I mean, that's probably as best as it can get.
Yeah, because it says the damage reduced by this ability is returned to the user in power. So if someone in your group's getting hit for a lot of damage, then you're going to be getting a lot of power on quite a continuous level. So that is a very nice Realm Rank 5. So we've also, I mean, I think we've covered this one. We spoke about you'd like to see the PvT brought back in, and you don't think that would make it insanely overpowered and unbeatable.
Yeah, I don't think it would be unbeatable if you guys switched it over to magnetism, because, I mean, like I said, you can't really solo if you're high mag, you know what I mean? You can, but you can't. At the same time, you have to give up something, you know what I mean, to get that PvT. If you put it at the same levels, I think it was 26, I believe, I mean, for the gray one. But, I mean, I just think that would work out perfect for this class, putting it in magnetism.
Okay, and you also think, I mean, this is another thing that you were saying about the staff possibly needing, more of the staff possibly needing a look at and maybe a bit of tweaking to it.
Yeah, most definitely. I think out of everything that I've mentioned, staff, I don't think anybody runs staff. If you can preferably run fist wraps, you get 2 different weapons that give you 2 different stats, and then on top of that you get Phoenix Strike. So why would you go staff other than you get a backstyle stun, which is absolutely nice, but when you can go 50 fist wraps and hit people with a Phoenix Strike with a matter legis, I mean, why go staff?
Okay, I'm looking on the Twitch, and Obelisk is saying he thinks Maulers are pretty solid solo, one of the best 1v1 classes against tanks, have a great place in groups, and are solid small man. So if someone I consider quite knowledgeable thinks that, why would you think that you don't tend to see Maulers out in RVR that much? Because I don't see them.
Yeah, they're a harder class to play. I mean, they are. You dive real fast, but you got a big damage output. So your input, you get hit hard, but if you're aura, you really don't. Sorry, let me rephrase that. If you're aura spec, you're not going to get hit that hard. You have that absorption. But if you're magnetism, you get hit pretty hard, because then you only got that 12%, I think it is, or 12 absorption. I know in this game no one has more playtime on a Mauler than me. This is my main, and I strongly want to take other people's opinions on it, but I think the most thing that people don't want to deal with is the groups. People don't group you because they don't know what the class can do, and that's one of the biggest issues.
Well, thank you very much. I think we've had quite a nice little discussion. No doubt this will transfer over onto post count and people will start posting what they think. And thank you everybody for watching. I'd like to say thanks to Beev and Knights, Paindancerr, Lucas, and Lea for doing the streaming. I've enjoyed watching that. Maybe you should come over to mid next time and we can see something over there.
Yeah, maybe mid is next time, yeah.
So thank you very much, everybody. I'll hand back to Lea.
Thank you, bud.
Yeah, thank you for the host, and good night.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks everybody for watching. Please remember to subscribe to our newsletter and regularly visit the Camelot Herald and see what's new in the game. And yeah, we will be back next week with another class podcast, and that will be at year's times again. Thanks everybody for watching. Bye bye.